Hello and welcome to the 10L poker strategy. This is catered towards 6-max zoom specifically, but these principles will be widely applicable to micro stakes in general. If you want to support the channel or say thank you for the video, a simple like would be very appreciated, or you can decide to purchase something from one of my links below in the description, but certainly no pressure to do that. So let's get started. First, an overview. I want to really quickly show you my results. So last week I played about 31 hours of 10NL Zoom, and as you can see I played about 16,000 hands, which isn't the biggest sample size, but over 31 hours, 16,000 hands, I won 22.455 buy-ins, so we'll just say 22 buy-ins, with a win rate of about 14 big blinds per 100. So my win rate is pretty darn solid, and I won just about 75% of sessions. So I discovered a lot of things that make me very profitable, and I'm definitely going to be able to help you guys implement some of these strategies and repeat this success to some sort of degree. So let's talk about the kind of player you're going to find at these 10NL games. So again, when we're playing Zoom, you're going to find a few more regs than usual, in my opinion. This is me playing on America's Card Room. So you will find, plenty of regs, but you'll also find, tons and tons of fish as long as you play at the right times. But the kind of players that I find are nit regs, who are, they have something like a 15 VP with like a 10 to 15 pre-flop raise and something like a 1 or 2 aggression factor. So they're pretty nitty and fairly easy to play against. Next, you have Maniac regs, and these guys are going to be like 20 plus VP and then like 20 plus preflop raise, and also like 10 plus 3-bet. So these guys are very aggressive. Sometimes they'll have like a 3 or a 4-bet frequency. So they will be I call them maniacs, and they're fairly common as well. And then lastly, these are our favorite kind of people, generally speaking. These are the most profitable ones, are loose passive fish, who they just want to see a lot of flops, and they are really easy to just take pots down against. And also they tend to be a little bit on the station side, so they'll call a lot of bets, so you can just value bet them to death. Not to death, I guess that's kind of like morbid, but just get a lot of value out of them. So let's talk about game selection. This is a very simple point. If you grind during the week, say Monday through Thursday, during the day, at least in my time, which is central, I find that you have a lot more regs, which is not surprising. These are people who probably play every day. But that doesn't mean that there aren't plenty of people that you can still beat. For example, I can pull up ACR right now, and there's 130 people playing 510 Zoom. So there are plenty of fish there, I promise you. So the nice thing about Zoom is that there's pretty much always fish, but given that, I find that the best times to play are the weekends. That's where you find all of these like new players who are just hopping on for the weekend. So I would say the most profitable times to play are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and pretty much any time. For example, yesterday, Sunday, I played like 3 sessions for like an hour or 2 each, and there were just plenty of fish. Shout out to the dating site, I guess. There were plenty of fish, all day, and that held true all weekend. So if you just play on the weekends, you will find the most amount of fish. If you play during the week, specifically during the day, you'll find a lot of just grinders. So you also want to, if you're going to play during the week, I would also recommend playing after about 8 p.m. Central. I find that 8 p.m. Central is when the games really get a lot more players and tend to get a lot fishier. Next, let's talk about hand selection. So I use Upswing Poker's opening chart. That's kind of the basis of my play. And if you want to find that, I'll leave a link below. Again, I am emphasizing this is not my chart. I did not come up with this. It is Upswing's chart. So even though I am showing you a link to my website, I'm not trying to pretend like it's mine. So staying on the topic of hand selection, you also want to adjust based on your reads of people. So this is what, makes a good poker player. First you start with fundamentals, then you move into adjusting. So simply by being a strong fundamental player, you'll still make money, especially at micros, because everyone's really, really bad. But what makes you a much more profitable player is adjusting to people. So an example of adjusting ranges would be, if I see someone on my left who likes to 3-bet a lot, I will narrow my range significantly, and I'll open, instead of opening like 20% of hands, I'll open like 12%, way less. And only hands that can call 3-bets, so like king jack suited plus, king queen suited, ace queen, things like that. And that way I can either 4-bet them if I want to, or I can simply call them down and try to take a flop, and then let them barrel off if they have air. And then a different example of adjusting ranges would be, if someone is really nitty, I will open my range. So one example of this is in the cutoff. I don't really play too loose in the cutoff, but if I know that a nit is on my left, I'll start opening things like ace 5 off, ace 4 off, ace 3 off. Because if I just have a chance to make some free money by stealing blinds, I will absolutely do that. And if you have a nit on the button who doesn't really play that many hands, they're just going to fold out, and you just have the button, with ace 5 or something. So that's a pretty good spot. Next, we'll talk about the blinds. This is something that you can definitely increase your win rate and do so pretty reliably. But you can also nuke your win rate by going crazy in the blinds. So I don't want you to go crazy, because that's what people do versus me. Yesterday I won like 120 big blinds or something in just one pot, because this guy just went crazy in the blinds. And long story short, I raised king queen, he 3-bet with deuce 4 offsuit. And then I flopped top pair. I flopped top pair, and he just barreled down and shoved all in on the river for like another 60 big blinds. So it was like, again, something like, so he turned this into this like almost 250 big blind pot after shoving the river, and I just called him, and he just had air. So I don't want you guys to do that. So let's talk about blinds. If you look at the pre-flop chart I provided, you'll notice that in the small blind you should open like the vast majority of hands. I think it's literally like 70+% of hands. It's like really, really wide. And the reason for this is because sometimes people will just auto fold the big blind, or it's just like a positive EV spot, because you can represent anything and they are more than likely going to have really crappy cards. And if you're just a solid player, with solid fundamentals, it's just a clearly very advantageous spot. Another point, if someone has a very high fold to steal, so something like 70+%, you should definitely adhere to the chart until they give you a reason not to. Some people will start 3-betting you light, like the guy I just told you about. But if they're a nit, they've got a low VP, high fold to steal, then you should absolutely be raising like the vast majority of your hands. And an example of this that you might not realize is something like, I don't know, like 5 deuce suited. I'm pretty sure that's like the lower end of the raising range. I don't remember off the top of my head, but like these kinds of hands that don't really seem that great, I open them anyway, and then you have a balanced C-bet sizing that you adjust according to the player, but you have a balanced range, and it's just very advantageous. The next point, if you have a loose player in the big blinds, tighten your range and be prepared to get 3-bet. So if you're in the small blind and it folds to you, and you've got a loose maniac in the big blind, I don't want you to adhere to this like very loose opening chart, because you're just going to get 3-bet a lot, and you're just going to waste your 2.5 or 3 big blinds or whatever. So instead, what I want you to do is you keep your attempt to steal rate high by doing this to tight players or regular players. So kind of inflates your numbers, but at the same time, when you're playing against loose players, you really have to tighten up your range. So I would say something like, this is the hand range I keep talking about, but like king jack offsuit and up. and that way you can call 3-bets if you want to, and just try to flop top pair and call them down. Lastly, you could also have a slightly higher 4-bet frequency against these guys, but I don't really recommend that because these are, someone who's willing to 3-bet you light is also probably someone who's willing to 5-bet you light. So I don't really recommend getting in the mix too much with 4-betting light, but, it's up to you. That is what, distinguishes a good poker player from a bad one, is their decision making. So just lastly, I already touched on this, but I'll just make it another point because I have it in my notes here. People really like to 3-bet light. So even like reg players who aren't ultra aggressive, if they see that you're trying to steal all the time, for some reason, we as humans just take that as like an attack. It's like, stop trying to steal my stuff. So it's the normal tendency to like 3-bet light, and I even told you guys to 3-bet light, and in one of my other videos. So 3-betting light isn't the worst idea, but it needs to be calculated, and you need to be prepared for the kind of person that's going to 3-bet you light, because it's among players who are willing to be aggressive, it's not that uncommon of a strategy to get 3-bet light. So again, I want you to tighten up your 3-bet or your opening range against those people, and be prepared to flat 3-bets with your strong hands and let them barrel into you. So now we'll talk about post flop. So again, this is more catered to 6-max. This does not apply to full ring. I do not. So basically, the point is, loose is best if you can stay disciplined and play well. And again, this is true for 6-max. If you can have a lot of bluffs and a lot of value hands in your range, you're gonna force people to fold all the time. And usually, people at this stake are not great players, so they will overfold or overcall, and you'll be able to take advantage of them. And but it's very important that you shouldn't be doing this in 9-handed, because people just have the nuts way more often, or close to the nuts, and they're also like really fishy in 9-handed in my experience, and they'll just like call you down, and so just have more value hands in that case. But in 6-max Zoom, having a high bluffing frequency, as long as you know the player type you're playing against, can be very, very good. But the follow-up to this point is, if you keep getting in these spots where you're losing big pots and you're over bluffing and you're getting called down, don't think back to this video and think, oh, well, Kramer said that I have to play loose. Don't do that, because you're just going to be dumping money. The point that I really need to emphasize is you have to be able to stay disciplined and play well, even if you are playing loose. And you have to have good reasons for what you're doing. Next, try to make balanced bets that never give away your hand strength. So when it comes to post flop, this is definitely the most complicated part of poker, but what you need to do is try to make balanced bets that don't give away your hand strength. So the way to do that is, Doug Polk talks about this a lot. I used to watch his channel a lot, and sometimes I'll still watch him from time to time. And the thing that he'll talk about is, like, when he's barreling, he's asking himself, like, well, what bluffs am I going to have in my range, and what value hands am I going to have in my range? And you need to start thinking about that too, if you can. It's not the easiest thing in the world to kind of get into that mindset, but that is the mindset of a winning poker player. Is you have to think about having a balanced range, and that way you aren't exploitable by better poker players. So, for example, when you are barreling, I just said this, but I'll repeat it. Make sure you can have bluffs as well as value hands in your range. So, for example, let's say you flop top set of kings on like a king jack deuce with 2 clubs. The thing is you can overbet these kinds of pots for value and for a bluff. So you could bet pot or like slightly over pot with like 3 kings, but you could also do it with ace queen of clubs. And this kind of balanced poker strategy is what allows you to play these giant pots with like huge advantages, and you force people to either fold or call you with like really bad equity. So then, of course, you use this strategy and then you cater it to the different kind of players that you play against. But I want you guys to, kind of remember what I just said. It's like, what kind of value hands are also in my range as well as my bluffs. All right, so lastly, we're going to be talking about mindset / how to make money. And I've already been touching on these, the mindset of a winning poker player and advantages that you're going to create, but I'm going to spell them out more specifically right now. So once again, I want to emphasize, you should always be calculating ranges. When you are playing poker, it's a skill set that you need to develop. It's not gambling. Like, technically it's gambling. You're wagering money that you may win or lose, but it's not pure gambling. It's not just like chance. So the point I'm making is, if you're not calculating ranges, you're not getting better at poker, and you don't really have much of an advantage. Since most rec players are just playing on experience and emotion, which is, again, just that's what like everyone does pretty much in poker. You can crush them just by having some GTO fundamentals, which just means calculating ranges. That's the point I'm making. Next, the next edge that you can have is having an opening chart. So if you adhere to the opening chart I provided, you're already playing at an advantage, because if everything else is equal versus the other players, you are making money, because this is just an advantage that's based on like strong fundamentals of poker, based on positioning and, equity of hands. So, even the good regs that I play against, the better players at 10 and L, they will open like far too many hands or 3-bet far too many hands, or on the other side, they will fold too many hands in late position. So if you just start with this pre-flop chart that I provided, that will, in theory, as long as the rest of your play is like about on par with the other players, you're going to be making money. And lastly, so this is really the most important part. Fundamentals are very important, but more importantly, adjusting to player tendencies, playing the player. Yes, you absolutely need strong fundamentals to be a winning poker player, but after you get past that, the real money is made when you can play huge pots where people are at like massive disadvantages because of their own tendencies that they're not aware of. So, this last point I'm talking about is you have to adjust to player tendencies. So after the above two, or not the above two, so after the previous two are accounted for, which again is opening charts and calculating ranges, after you can do both of those, the rest is all about adjusting to players and playing the player. So it's pretty simple. I've been talking about this already, is like you want to adjust your opening ranges versus tight players by opening more, and then opening less versus loose players, and then 4-betting more against people who over 3-bet. So these are the kinds of things that make you into winning poker players. It goes from, grinding out these small wins to grinding out these like big wins, I think my win rate last week was like 14 big blinds an hour, or 14 big blinds out of 100 hands, which is that's pretty darn good, I think. But beating 10 and L for like 22 buy-ins or something in 30 hours is like, that's pretty good. So anyway, the point I'm making is like you start to get to these like crazy numbers by just exploiting the crap out of people. But I don't want you to think about that too much. The fundamentals are really like having a good opening range and an ability to calculate ranges. So start with those, and then eventually you start adjusting to players, and you will be able to make these like create these big pots, and just like take all their money while having like huge advantages. So that is going to wrap up the video. Hopefully I have earned a like from you guys. I always appreciate it when you show your support and let me know that you like the videos by liking the videos. It lets me know that I'm doing things right. Second, if you want to support the channel and you want to find some like really easy games, you can simply join America's Card Room through my link below. I am an affiliate, but they don't sponsor me or anything. It's just like, if I recommend their site and you sign up through my link, I might get a commission. But you know, the games really are very good there, and that's where I've made all my money. And lastly, poker coaching is available again. If you really want to take your improvement seriously, I will, you know, work with you one-on-one to help you implement all these strategies and help turn you into a winning poker player. But that is it. That's all I have to offer for today's video. I really appreciate all of the new subscribers and people who have been watching and liking my videos. It means a lot to me. I never thought this channel would do as well as it is. So I really do appreciate it very much. So I'll leave it there. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.